So I'm basically working on a system here that has a DMPS 300. We're using aux1 out as room 1, aux2 out as room 2 into a Tesira and output to each room. So basically we're going to, in the inputs, we're going to mix these, and depending on whether it's combined or separated, we're going to combine or separate the volumes. So I'll switch over to Tesira and just move this over here. So you go File, New, Tesira Forte only. Under I/O blocks, Tesira Forte, and what was it again?
TI.
TI. So a TI. So this will bring in all the special blocks attributed to the Tesira TI, and you notice how it's like a crosshairs here. You just got to click it, and it'll drop some stuff in. AEC settings. We're not really using that right now, but I'm going to just do per channel reference TI. So it has a phone module. You got to make sure you set that properly because it does some different things on the phone line voltage and stuff.
Okay.
And you can also do USB with Tesira, like recording to and from computers. In this case, we're not doing that, so I'm not going to create those blocks. So I go OK here, and it's dropped a bunch of junk here. So I want to space that out a bit.
So are these blocks reflective of the actual I/O on the back of the unit?
Correct. Yeah, it's the actual I/O.
Okay.
We're not using AEC. It kind of makes it more complicated. I'm not really going to be able to explain that, but we'll just set these aside because eventually we will be adding phone at some point in the future. And basically, these blocks here are just going to do nothing. So these are our inputs. Double click on here, and this is where I set all my input gains.
Yes.
Until you compile it, you get question marks on the device number, the physical device number. This corresponds to the equipment table and how it's set up in the configuration of pushing the file. Basically, in this point, we're just using 4 inputs, and they're going to be line level, so 0 dB. So we're fine with the way it is now.
But with the question marks, would you want to give it a label or just leave it?
It actually fills that in automatically.
Okay.
So if I want to add some, if I do want to add some labels, though, I can click on the block, go right click, and go edit port properties, and this is basically just text, but it would be room 1 left, room 1 right, room 2 left, and room 2 right. So if I go OK, apply an OK, you see it filled in right there. I'm going to make this block a little bit bigger here. I'm not really using this AEC. I'm just going to leave it connected for now. So basically I'm going to need a couple things. I'm going to go with a matrix mixer and 4 inputs and 4 outputs. Actually, I can go custom, go 4 inputs and 2 outputs. Make it a little bit bigger here. And what I can do, I can click and drag over these, select all of those, drag them to here. And this AEC reference block, basically it just passes things through. I don't want AEC turned on, so I'm just going to turn it off. AEC is used in a conference setting when you've got telephony or a video conference with another room to cancel that out. So basically it routes those. You can move blocks around. You can also, if you want, click on individual wires and move them around if you want them to be pretty. At this point I'm not too concerned about that.
Okay. Now can you create these and save them as templates if you have other rooms?
Yeah, you can. You can select, like it's like a document. You can select it all and copy it and paste it to another system if you want. I'm going to add, I think I'm just going to add parametric EQ, 5 band, 1 for each room. So I'm going to go Control C, Control V, copy it. So you got 2 of them. And we're doing all the switching outside of the Biamp, so once it hits the Biamp, it's already whatever's supposed to be going to that room. So all we basically need to do is control how it's routed and control how it's how the volume is output. So I'm going to put in, where's control blocks? Control blocks level.
Have we sort of established what our sources for our audio are going to be? Is it just going to be the laptop connections in this room?
Yeah, the sources are going to be switched through the DMPS.
Yes.
And it's kind of video, audio follow video, so whatever video source you select in a room is going to be output from that room's audio coming from the DMPS. So once it hits the Biamp, and this is kind of a hybrid system. There's other ways you'd do it where you'd actually have all your audio sources coming into the Biamp, and you'd be switching the audio in here and letting DMPS or whatever else handle the video.
Okay.
But in this case, just for simplicity, we're using DMPS to do all that switching, and this is basically just giving us level control and combination or uncombine. Now, if we didn't have to do the combine uncombine, we could use the DMPS for everything, because you can control audio volumes with that too. So one thing to note is our audio volume coming into the DMPS is going to be fixed. It's always going to be at 0 dB, and then it'll be controlled here.
Okay.
So I'm putting in a 2-channel volume control. I'm not going to gang the controls because I want them to be controlled individually. And this was actually the block that Crestron will be talking to control the room levels.
Now, let me just have a quick question in that you know what sort of control blocks you need, and you're clicking on them and you're selecting them. How does somebody that isn't familiar with this system get a list of all the different types of blocks that you can incorporate into your signal path?
So the question was asked, how do you get a list of all the blocks if you don't really know what you're looking for? The help section of Biamp is pretty good. It's actually got the full documentation of the system. So you can look under here in component objects and see all the different types of mixers. You know, what's a gating auto mixer, what's a standard mixer. The thing with Biamp versus other DSPs is you actually have to have a bit of knowledge of what you're trying to do, because you're kind of creating it from a blank canvas. So it's not a fixed architecture DSP like a Clear One or something, where everything's sort of predefined. This is like you got a blank slate, drop in your inputs and outputs and make all the connections in between. So now with this level, if I double click on this, you can see 2 different level controls. I can actually set what the minimum and maximums are. I'm going to put the minimums actually to -60 and the maximum to, let's say 10, just give a bit better range. And if you want to rename any of these blocks, you can just click on them, hit enter, and I can say Crestron room volume. And again, that's a little small, so I can make this a bit bigger. There is, at the bottom, let's see.
When you get a chance, I got another question. Does this program continually auto-save your progress, or do you have to save it at the end?
With any program, I would recommend doing your own auto-saving, even if it does auto-save, just so you don't end up with problems if something happens. I do that anyways when I'm doing like Word documents and whatever. I'm pretty sure that there is a setting for it under System Preferences or something for autosave. Just not exactly sure where you'd find it. What I'm showing you here, I had to drag the window down here. These windows are dockable and they move around, and it kind of gets a little bit confusing at times. So you have to play with the interface to kind of get familiar with what's going on. And if you close a window, you got to find it from the tools box or something, and I don't even know how to do that reliably, so I try not to touch that stuff. I think when you reopen the software, it starts at a state where it was like kind of a preset. That's my guess anyways. I just want to show you this, it's called World View, or Bird's Eye View, sorry. And it lets you, like, if you click over here, I've got a mouse with a scroll button. If I hold down Control and scroll in. I can zoom in, and I can move around like this, which is kind of painful, or I can look at the bird's eye view and move around that way. So this lets you manage kind of large files and large projects. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit here, and I think, yeah, it's Crestron room volume. So it's going to resize my window here so that I can share a bit better. Let's see. So with this matrix mixer, since Crestron's controlling it, it uses something called an instance tag, and I'm going to call this room volume. This is just a text field, and the module in Crestron will tie into that, and it will reference channel 1 or channel 2 for control. That's really all you need to do on this side. I'm not going to show the Crestron side because this isn't really about Crestron programming. It's more about how to set up the initial Biamp. And then the matrix mixer. The other thing you can do, actually, I should show you, is flow text. If you right click, remember we edited the port properties? If I click flow text, it'll push those names across to whatever's connected until it hits something where it can't logically figure out what's next. So I pushed it through this AEC block and pushed it to here. Now these are just labels, right? It's just showing kind of what's connected. You'll see also when I opened up the matrix mixer, it doesn't show you the channel numbers inside here. You could set that under DSP properties, this label here, and you have to go per channel, which kind of takes a lot of time and it's not always useful. So basically now I'm going to do presets. So one of these here is presets, preset manager. I'm going to create a preset, I'm going to call it separate. And create another preset, and I'm going to call it combine.
You spelled separate wrong though.
Apparently I spelled separate wrong. But that's okay, I'm going to leave it for now. And you can change these on the fly. Like there's two modes of this program. It's either offline or online mode. And you can tell if it's online, see all the dots for the grid. If you're online, you won't see those dots, and you'll actually have live information. The other thing, I guess, while I'm talking about that, I should add some meters just so we can see what's going on. So if I go audio meter, I'm going to do 4 channels because that's all we've got connected anyways. I'm going to make them peak, and I'm just going to connect them to the first 4 inputs. And then I'm also going to do the same for the outputs. Where is it here? Audio meter. Only this, I only need 2 channels. This is just so we can basically see what's coming in off of the system. And I don't have any audio sources hooked up right now, so it's not really going to be the best test in the world, but I can at least show how it sort of ties in. So back to my presets. If I go to matrix mixer, and I'm sitting on the separate preset here. Okay, I'll go and rename that. It's with an A, separate.
Yes.
Okay. So you can reference them. Crestron references them either by ID or by name. I'm going to do it by name. Doesn't really matter. It's whatever the preference is. So I'm going to go here, and when it's separated, I want 1 and 2 mixed together, sent out output 1, and 3 and 4 mixed together. So because remember, these are stereo coming in. So left and right for room 1 goes out the mono feed for room 1. Left and right for room 2 goes out to mono feed for room 2. So I've done that. Since I'm sitting on this, I can right click here and it'll say add to preset separate. And you can see here it shows you what's there. I don't think you can edit it. You can probably you can change things here. I would recommend just clearing presets and redoing them, or just playing around to learn how the presets are kind of recalled. Presets can they're kind of partial presets and the fact that they only control what you told them to control. So whenever Crestron is asking for that preset, it's going to push this mixer over to look like this. Now if you wanted to set like input and output levels on just on the mixer, you could do that here and have it tied, like anything you do in here is tied to the preset. So now if I go combine, in combine we're going to run input 1, or room 1 left and right, and room 2 left and right, out room 1, and room 1 left and right. So basically like this, we're mixing everything together. Now I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to add to preset combine, and it lets me do that contextually because I'm sitting on that. And click that. Add to preset combine. So now you can see if I go between these, it actually lets me simulate what's going on. So I've got my 2 presets, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here. I don't need to do anything with that. Peak meter, just to see what's going on. The outputs, I don't think there's any setup I need to do on the outputs. You can't add gain to it here, you can take it away. If you did want to add gain, that you could put in a level block and just push it a little bit. I wouldn't really recommend adding too much. You want to deal with more of having sitting around 0 dB on the input. 0 dB RMS, but essentially 0 dB. So now I've got this basic, really basic configuration. I'm going to go System, Compilation, and the thing with partitions is Tesira has a concept of different partitions, so you can have different things going on at the same time. Like say you had Conference Center 1, and then you had like a boardroom behind it. You could have both of those things on the Tesira running on their own partition, and that would let you recompile and update independently, so you don't have to take the whole system down. For most systems, most small systems, you won't need that. And I should also say Biamp has really good online training. This is kind of just a primer showing kind of a basic run through of how it works. So you compile active partition. I'm just going to go recompile all partitions, and it'll go through. It ignores stuff that's not connected anywhere. So if you don't have a full path from start to finish, see there's no complete audio path from input to an output, so it'll actually fail, it won't compile. And the reason it's doing that is because of this guy here. So really what I need to do is disconnect these lines here and pull this block that we're not using essentially out, and then when it compiles it'll just ignore that block. But I'm routing the audio through here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do it this way. 2, 3, 4. So let's just try that. Actually, I should save it too. Save under desktop test. And compile all. So it shows the notes, compilation notes. It's ignoring all this stuff because it's not connected anywhere. It also tells you what your propagation delay from your input to your output is going to be. In this case, it's just under 1 millisecond. You're not even going to hear that. If you're getting bigger systems and tying stuff together with AVB, I've seen stuff where it's sitting around 10 or 12 milliseconds, and that's kind of where you're starting to worry. Because if you have microphones in the system, again, this system doesn't have mics, so having that little bit of delay this is no delay essentially, but having a little bit of delay isn't in the end of the world. It just might affect a little bit of lip sync. So anyways, I've got that compiled. Now we've got a fresh system that we're connecting to. And actually before I do that, we've already removed the device from, we have to go in, let me start here. You try to connect and it'll find it on the local network. Under device maintenance, you actually have to click here and go reset device, and it will clear all the memory, and basically it says here place it on the unused device list. So that lets you assign it to a different compiled file essentially. We've already done that, so I don't need to do that. What I do need to do though is go to system equipment table. And here I have unit ID 1. This is how the compilation figured out that everything here is unit ID 1. Notice there's tags there. The other thing, I'll just go back here quick. The other thing is all these question marks are filled in. These are physical ID numbers now. And you'll also see, remember we set that control ID? Where did we set that? It was instance tag, right? Must not have saved. I'm going to redo that. Volume. Let's be unique. I think I set the wrong volume somewhere. DSP properties. I'll have to figure out what went wrong there. I must have clicked on something wrong. Oh yeah, I set my matrix mixer. I didn't want to do that. This one doesn't matter. I'm not controlling it. Room volume. I'm going to go Crestron volume. Capitalization and spelling matter. There's also a certain number of characters you can use, otherwise you'll have issues with it. So keep it shorter. Got to go and recompile. And then where I was before, system equipment table. And here I need to pick an available serial number that my computer has found connected to the network. Double click here, and it'll show that device. So I click on the device, and this is referencing that Tesira to this compiled file. Go OK. I'm going to save it again because I changed some names and stuff. Now I click here, connect to system, and here it lets me send system config. So I'm clicked on all devices. So this is going to send whatever is referenced with the serial number in the program on the computer to whatever serial number it finds out connected to your laptop, essentially. So send system config. I'm still just going to call it test. I go OK. Do you wish to start system audio? And that's going to be yes. It just, when you reload the program, it starts off muted. So yes, I want to start it. Manage partition audio. This is if you have multiple partitions. I'm just going to go start all and close. So now my grid is gone. I'm connected live. I can see at the bottom system status. I could probably even click on it. That gives you a bit of information. If you click, let's see, DSP here, you can see utilization. I think it shows you that to you when you're offline too. But if I look at my peak meter, now I see some sort of levels happening. Not much because we obviously don't have a source, but we got some stuff there. Again, I got a little bit of movement there. I should have put in a test generator to demonstrate. But regardless, you go in here, and now I want to try recalling two presets. It'll work the same as we saw it offline, essentially, but this is actually live on a live system. So if I have my Crestron all set up and working connected right now, I could control from external to recall these two presets, and that's what I'm going to do next. I'm just not going to make that part of this video because it's kind of outside the scope. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Now if you want to go through and set your EQ and stuff, it will hold that EQ basically whenever it reboots itself. It'll recall that, or you could put it to a preset. You can do these preset things right on the fly. Like if I want to do, I won't name it, but I'm just going to click on here. You might be able to select multiples. I held down control. So let's say I had set up special EQ on both of these. Control, so click, and then control click, so you got a couple selected. Right click, add to preset. So then it's got two different parametric EQ points. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete this preset because it doesn't really matter. And then the other thing I want to show just quick, kind of hid this off the screen, disconnect from system. It's going to save it. Now if you just came in live and you didn't even have a system, or didn't have the file or whatever, I'm just going to say okay, whatever. Connect to a system. Now the configuration is stored in the running Biamp Tesira Forte. I can actually pull that back to my computer as it is now. So instead of send system config, I click on here because it's got the system ID now. Connect to system. It'll drag that all back in and show it live. Excuse me. So you can see what's running. You can see what the levels are. And when you disconnect, you have the option of saving it as a new name or something, or whatever you want to do. So usually when I'm making changes, especially if I go back after a couple days or something, I'll pull whatever is running and I'll make changes to that and save it as a new revision number and keep a local copy of it. But that's basically it in a nutshell. So I'm just gonna end this video here unless there's any questions. So it's kind of a very rough overview of setting up a Tesira Forte system. And like I said, the Biamp training is really good. It's just, it goes very far into depth and it walks you through it really well. But I wanted to make this just as kind of a quick intro to what you can do and how you can kind of set it up and connect to a system.